Hey y'all, it's Metaluna coming at you with some Omega energy. I know it's been a minute, so I took some time off the 3D. It's been a minute since I fully 3D'd, and guess what? I still couldn't fully do it. I still was doing a little bit of networking and working, but mostly I just, act a fool and wound down a little bit. That's all right, as long as you don't hurt nobody. Anyway, we just passed up the Leo new moon. Hopefully y'all babies was out there starting to clean up your spaces, making them all fresh and renewed. Like you do, people call spring cleaning during the spring. Okay, once a month, do a spring cleaning during a new moon. I know I've preached this to y'all a few times where you clean off everything and start anew and have all your stuff for the month cleaned up, laundry, all that. You pick that new moon day to do that. You'll be charged up and energized to do it more likely on that day anyway. Because I've already told y'all, and I'm going to say it over and over again until y'all get it, until everybody has it just locked in. All the planetary energies that affect us down here are valid. But the moon itself is the one that's closest to us that impacts us more succinctly. In other words, it's the metaphor I've used and will continue to use because I found it to be the best is that think of all of the planets and their energies and how they impact us as a house, where every room in the house, the great room being Saturn, not necessarily for you, you just put it where you want to put it. But all those planets are valid because you have to use them from time to time and they impact you from time to time. Whether you have company, don't have company, it doesn't matter. But your bedroom is very, very personal to you. Because if you're living in a home with a whole bunch of folks, your bedroom is your own typically, at least once you get grown. Okay? Your bedroom and your area around your bed is the most personal to you and most impactful to you daily, especially when you're at rest. That's the moon. The moon is more impactful to us emotionally and it traverses more quickly in our everyday to-day lives than any other celestial body. So paying attention to the lunar cycles will greatly impact your ability to be able to predict maybe what moods you're going to be in or what's coming up for you emotionally. These things based on the constellation it's sitting in and the things that you have going on within your current dynamic. Now, I do understand that psychology is taking this sweet old time catching up, but it's trying to understand how the lunar cycles impact the collective emotionally. And based on what's going on with you personally, it would impact each of us differently. So paying attention to these things and seeing how they apply to yourself and how you're feeling would actually greatly improve your ability to be able to balance out some of the more difficult energies. Personally, when there is the lunar cycles and water energy, that is Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio, I have more difficult emotions that come up to the surface. So before they're coming in and I see that they're coming in, okay, so we're about to have a lunar cycle of 2-3 days of a water moon, I know to prepare myself for some probably heavy or difficult emotions, especially if there are things that I'm hiding from myself because I have too much to do, child. I got this, that, and the other thing to do. During my regular days, I may not be really listening to the emotional self. And if there are things that I'm not listening to about my emotional self, they're definitely going to show themselves during the lunar cycles of water for me. That might not be the case for you. It might be air for you. But if you take a month, because the lunar cycles are going to be lunaring the whole time. Take a month and journal. Each day, every time the lunar cycle jumps from one cycle to the next, and write down a sentence or two. You ain't got to write a whole paragraph or a book about what you're actually feeling each one of those days, what you're feeling and what you've experienced in your reality. And then do it again the next month. Watch how they link up. If there are things that came up on the lunar cycles and from my example, water lunar cycles that you didn't deal with, they're going to come up again exactly the same way or some way similar the next lunar cycles of water that you have. So if you start paying attention to that, You'd be more in tune with yourself. And this is why I say, well, it's great if you want to go down a rabbit hole and learn how all of the celestial bodies, the planetary movements impact you personally and others. That's cool. And it's sometimes very, very fun. As a matter of fact, I use it as a coping tool for those who come to me to have anxiety. It gives them something to focus on when they're having some ruminating thoughts and anxious feelings. So take that if you'd like. Okay? And if you'd like to come to me so I can show you how to do that more succinctly, you're welcome to it. Now, knowing that the others exist and that they're there for study, that if you choose to study, great. But for you personally, you don't have to be an astrologist or astronomer or anything like this to be able to understand how sometimes the celestial bodies and their movements impact us down here on Earth. Okay? See, one of the things I think that was neglected when I was growing up, even though they told us there are planets out there, they told us how many planets there were. They told us growing up that one is the biggest one to the smallest one. They even eventually adjusted things to say Pluto isn't a planet, then it is, and then it isn't. Child, that don't matter to me at this particular point because I know all of the planetary movements impact us down here. But what they never taught us to even understand and believe of why the planet's there. What is their purpose? What, if any, effect do they have on us? See, these are the things that I wish that would talk to us in school. Not for us to just sit here and be like obsessed with it. Because when I first started learning, I'm like, child, the obsession was big. Because I'm like, my whole world opened up in a way that felt right. Because I always knew there was something more than what they were telling us. Okay? Being it as it may, how did they develop into what they are? See, these things, tiny little snippets and pieces were given to us, but I don't believe that the full range of information was given to anyone, really, unless you're an astrophysicist, at which time from what I've experienced so far, and I'm leaving space for me to be incorrect, even they don't fully understand how those movements actually impact us energetically, individually, down here. They've dismissed any concept of that being a thing without actually fully studying it. Now, it's like, well, astrology can change based on geographic location. Well, that is absolutely true. It can change based on geographic location because right now, a lot of that Aquarius energy that's going about, if you're in a different hemisphere, that's Capricornian energy. And they're working together right now to do what is being done, both Capricornian energy and Aquarian energy. Boom, partnering up to create and destroy. At least that's just my assessment of things, but that's not for this conversation. Anyway, I welcome you to give it a try. Try to take those lunar cycles and figure out what your emotions are. Because it's not that you have no power in a situation. You absolutely do. Because we'll act out of those emotions regardless of if we know what the lunar cycle is doing. But for those of you babies who might have some difficulty regulating your emotions, figure out what lunar cycles you feel like you have the most difficulty regulating your emotions. This may be beneficial to you. Because if some of those days you probably just need to be left alone, it'd be great if you can tell loved ones and people who actually understand that you are differently abled, neurodivergent, that okay, on these days I have scheduled time alone. Or on these days I might need a little bit more support from you. Is that okay? And then you have a heads up. And if nothing happens, you know what that means over time? Is that you're learning to regulate your own emotions because you feel like, oh, I can feel it coming on. I know what I need to do now for myself and those that love me. Till next time, you're loved.